wise man once said, don't know your heroes, because it turns out they may have done a little genocide in their days. So, it's In the Hunt Patreon. And Kyle Turner and Sean Murphy are here with myself, Greg Bauk, to talk about the story of Buffalo Bill Cody, the namesake of your Buffalo Bills. Guys, he did some things. He did some things.
He did some great things.
Okay.
If you count having the getting the Medal of Honor a bad thing, Greg, maybe move out of the country.
Oh, well, yeah, well, okay. So there's lots to get here. There's the story of Buffalo Bill Cody and what he did, and some people listening might not know, so we'll talk a little bit about that. Then there's the story of what all of that means, and we've got some time to dive into it. Might get a little philosophical. It will surely be fun. He was like a scout, a military man, and a rodeo clown. So he had lots of lives.
He was a Renaissance man.
He was.
Yeah. That was the only time. Like,
he was the Joe Rogan of the late 19th century.
When did just being a Renaissance man stop paying? You know what I mean? Like at a certain point, it's like you can't just call yourself a Renaissance man and make money. You have to pick. You have to be something.
I will tell you the answer to that.
Renaissance man become the entrepreneur of our time? Because now, if you say you're a Renaissance man, people are like, "Oh, you're homeless. You just walk around and do shit." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas if you say
I don't think Renaissance
people
men
are like, "Oh, you invent tech companies or something."
Yeah, that's good. Wow, we can go in a lot of different directions. I don't think there's any such thing as the Renaissance men or women anymore because of like television. Everything's just garbage now. Yeah. So like, everything's been done basically.
I always think of more as like hobbies. Like if Kyle, has his Bills podcast and he knit, I'd be like, oh, real Renaissance man. Like that. Okay, a little bit of everything there.
So first, let's go over how the Buffalo Bills became the Buffalo Bills and how they were named after Buffalo Bill Cody here. So the Bills were initially named the Buffalo Bisons.
Kind of.
Yes. There was a football team in Buffalo named the Buffalo Bisons.
Yes.
Then they became the Buffalo Bills, and then they kind of became the
then they folded, and then Ralph Wilson started a franchise, and he's like, I might as well call them the Bills.
So this is how they got their name, though. Yes, the initial Bills name.
Go ahead.
The Bills were. This is from their website. The Bills were originally named the Bisons, but the owner James Burrell, who also owned Frontier Oil Company, wanted to go all in on the Frontier theme for his Buffalo holdings. He renamed the football team the Buffalo Bills after the Pony Express rider, after running a contest that offered a $500 prize to the winning entry. That winning entry was sent by James F. Dyson, whose essay compared the team to a band of Buffalo Bills. And
who doesn't love it when Kyle reads, by the way? This is just great stuff all around.
That was in 1947. He got paid $500 for winning that, and that is equivalent to $5,865.07 today.
Wow!
Aren't you glad you pay for this Patreon subscribers?
That's the end of the pod.
Just some facts.
Some facts that I read on the Bills website.
Is that on the Bills website?
When I Googled it, it brought me to the Buffalo Bills website.
Boy, so how deep do you have to get into the Bills website to find that shit?
Before that team was the Bills. So past football teams in Buffalo were called the Buffalo All-Americans, the Buffalo Indians, the Buffalo Tigers, and the Buffalo Bisons. Considering all those names, I think the Bills are the best name of all of those.
I think Buffalo Bills is a great name.
Yeah.
Like that's just a cool name. It's different. It doesn't exist. It's plural. Like,
yeah,
I like the idea of it. It's kind of weird because the guy killed the namesake of the city you were with. So there's a little irony there. It's like, oh, we're Buffalo, we're proud. Our guy killed us. Like that doesn't make any sense. But
Tigers is like that's just such a common sports name. It would have been like fun to have the team to be the Tigers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it would have been to be like, oh yeah, it's the Bears, the Packers, the Tigers, something
Tigers
like
is
that.
One of
along
those names. Like,
yeah.
Tigers one of those names that everyone used. Yeah, it's just like you didn't have to have Tigers. There's no Tigers in Cincinnati.
Well, so let's get into some Buffalo Bill.
We watched a documentary to the people out there. We didn't just read his. We actually sat and watched an hour documentary about this guy, and interesting to say.
Segueing off of what Greg said here, he got the nickname Buffalo Bill for being a buffalo hunter. He reportedly killed over 4,000 buffalo in his day.
Yeah,
that might not sound like a lot, but that is a lot of buffalo.
That's a lot of buffalo.
Specifically, 4,282 buffalo in a 8-month period. He killed.
Wow. And he, I liked this, that I think this was on the Wikipedia. He and Bill Comstock competed in an 8-hour buffalo shooting match to see who would get exclusive rights to the name Buffalo Bill. And our boy won 68-48, one of the highest scoring offensive performances in franchise history. 60, that's a, man, could you imagine? Whenever people talk about like living in the past, I always think like it was so boring. Imagine just being like your fun for like the month was like there's gonna be like a all day buffalo shootout, and like I mean that was entertainment.
They don't even move. It's not true. I know when they ran, they stampeded and stuff like that, but they were shooting them when they were kind of just standing there. He killed buffalo because they were running a railroad through the country, and all those people doing the railroad had to eat. This guy was basically like a giant Arby's. Like he was the first Arby's. He just killed a bunch of buffalo to feed the the railroad workers.
And then he'd say, "We got the meats."
Yeah, he was the first person to say, "We got the meats." That's how he rang that triangle thing, and then to bring them all to his raw buffalo burgers.
I imagine him like heroically riding with fists full of raw buffalo meat by the trains, and the soldiers are like, "Buffalo Bill rules."
He called it like the jack meat or something. Like he had some kind of like marketing term for it.
Yeah. Buffalo Bill, he, in his small defense here, I feel like I'm going to be defending him for some reason in this podcast. He unlike a lot of the Wild West people who just killed the buffalo for fun or for their hide and would leave the meat, he specifically hated that and killed for hunting and for eating the buffalo.
And became a conservationist later in life.
He definitely and hated that he when he was older, like Sean said, he hated that that's the lifestyle he lived.
And I'll say this in another defense of this guy here. I saw that growing up, his dad was stabbed twice for hating slavery. His family was constantly harassed by pro-slavery supporters. He lived in the South Buffalo of its time. And we make fun of South Buffalo on the pod, Greg. It's part of what we do. Also, he was for women voting, and he supported civil rights of Native Americans and employed a bunch of them. He was seemingly insanely progressive for like the late 1800s.
Yeah. Just not spitting on women for showing their ankles was progressive. And this guy, he was
he was like
the Bernie Sanders of
this is the documentary. One of the, like in the first couple minutes, they were like he was a stage actor, a politician, a writer, director, a frontiersman, and then it's like, but some people think he was just a drunk and a womanizer. It was like, wait, what? Also, I love the idea of him just being a drunk and a womanizer, which is exactly how you describe most football fans. And you're like, he should be named after a football team.
Yeah, definitely. If Buffalo Bill was alive today, he'd have a podcast.
Oh my God,
this
I
dude loved
literally wrote
attention.
that.
Yeah.
I said, if Buffalo Bill's alive today, he would just be another shitty influencer. He'd have TikTok, he'd have a YouTube channel with a shitty thumbnail with big words where he's like making some confused face with like money sign over him or something.
He'd be doing trick shots in an empty stadium, shooting Buffalo for watch this through the uprights.
Guys, if you like to see me hurt Buffalo, like and subscribe to my channel.
Yeah, smash that like button. I'm gonna kill some buffalo today.
We got a new sponsor today, Manscaped.
You want to shave your buffalo parts to get at them organs?
Do you ever wonder how I get my mustache looking this good?
Yeah.
Dollar Shave Club.
Oh God. Yeah, he would be sponsored by Manscaped in a second. Fucking guy.
So this, let's start. I want to start at the very beginning because I think this is great.
Are you gonna read more?
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh,
well,
God. You are not going to read for 30
but I wrote
minutes.
This stuff.
Hold on. Kyle is so excited because like this is like when he was in class and the teacher brought up the one thing he knew about. Like, look how excited he is. He's like, hold on.
Now I know.
I have notes.
It's like that one kid in class who's like, no, I actually did the book report this time. Please, can I would like to present, please.
But he didn't. He's reading. He just bookmarked a website. That's all he did.
Sometimes you get open book tests in school.
I've been known to plagiarize in my day. Let's just say. So this guy, he was born in 1846, William Frederick Cody.
No one cares.
I'm getting to this point. He was born in LeClaire, Iowa. I looked up LeClaire, still a place, about 4,000 people. LeClaire, I went to their Wikipedia. They're not known for much. But I swear to God, this is true. They are known for Tug Fest. You heard that right. That's Tug Fest. Tug Fest.
That's what I called it when I got a free Cinemax preview weekend when I was 16.
Tug Fest.
Just a little Greg going, Tug Fest.
Hey guys, sorry, I can't do anything this weekend. I can't go rollerblading. Free Cinemax Tug Fest.
Tug Fest, for those of you that don't want it to be a masturbation fest, is a 3-day-long event where the people of LeClaire, Iowa, to play tug of war with Port Byron, Illinois. They spread, they stretch a rope across the Mississippi River and they play tug of war. Yeah, there's 10 men's teams of 20 and 1 women's teams of 25. Because it's still the middle of the country. They don't believe women are as good as men. And Port Byron is, as of 2016, I didn't want to look up, websites, but they are 19-11 in the competition. And so
I was waiting for Kyle
best at tugging, I guess.
I was waiting for Kyle to read a URL link. HTTPS ...
Would you not want to go to Tug Fest now just to watch Tug Fest?
Yeah. That was cooler than I thought it would be.
It was a river. That river's not a joke. It's not like Cass Creek. Like those, you get pulled into the Mississippi. I hope they did it like at a safe spot. I might have to like Google this to watch.
They do it. It's not a life or death. This isn't in the 1800s. I'm sure this was life or death, and they were like, yes, we absolutely have to pick the rockiest, heaviest, rapided part of the
losing
river.
team just dies every year.
Yeah. I want to see this, but I have to be careful not to look for it on a work computer. Pull up Tug Fest on. Oh God! Now I have to go in a room with HR.
So my other fun facts about him that I loved, his older brother, by the time he was 11, his older brother and father died because of course they did. And so he was like, well, I'm the man of the house now, and just got a job. He just got a full-time job at 11. Could you imagine him like he's standing around other like grown men along like the train, the railroad, and he's like smoking, and he's like, the kids are at home. He's like, I don't even get boners yet. But
I don't even get boners. You didn't get equal pay until you got a boner. Well, you're saying that like but like back then, wasn't that the thing? Like all kids smoked when they were like 8. And they all had like you had a job just waking up in the morning. So you had to do more shit just to get out of the house before the day than I have to do at my actual job.
But they seem to point that he was in school. and then quit because the family needed money.
Yeah, school then though, that wasn't like.
I mean, yeah, what could they have taught? They didn't even know dinosaurs existed.
No, he wasn't
like how short was the history? They're like less than 100 years ago. We got away from England, and now we're here, and that was the history.
You get to 4th grade and like you think it was over, but like, no, we just found out there's verbs. They're called verbs. You're gonna have to learn these. There's nothing to know back then.
Yeah, they were like, everyone that looks like us is bad.
It was just a propaganda
that doesn't look like us.
Let me tell you about the Chinese. Oh no.
He, in between the ages of 11 and 26, so that's between 1857 and 1972.
Dates. He's giving dates.
Yeah, he held multiple jobs, enlisted in the army twice, fighting in 2 different wars, got married, had 4 kids, and received the Medal of Honor. And as we mentioned, killed thousands and thousands of buffalo, all within a 15-year period. That's what have we done in 15 years?
Yeah,
Murphy, you've been doing comedy 15 years. Where's your Medal of Honor?
That's true. But I mean, he served in the Union Army, so not the Navy. But I mean, I'm sure you got excited when you read that.
There was a Navy for the Confederate. They had a couple boats. They had a couple ironclads that they rode out
Ironclad,
there.
I remember.
Yeah, I remember the stories about how they used to paint the ironclads white, and all of the Navy people would shit white from all the.
I remember learning about that in school. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is totally nothing to do with this guy here.
Someone who hasn't heard our cast before is wondering what the hell I'm talking about.
I remember a story about 2 ironclads from the North and the South, obviously, fighting each other, and they were firing cannonballs at each other, and the cannonballs were just bouncing off one another, and neither ship was taking damage, and they just stopped and left.
I heard that story. They were so good. Then they had to invent better bullets.
I also want to bring up, so yeah, we watched like a 40-minute History Channel documentary, and then there was also like an hour on YouTube, like a book TV, some guy just giving like a lecture about a book he wrote, and I just was watching. I'm like, hey man, I can't wait for Kyle to watch this.
I did not watch it.
So
I got 3 minutes in, and I was like, they don't take up the whole screen. I just got to watch a guy at a podium. No thanks.
So going through the story, the documentary, you've seen them on the History Channel. It's always like horribly produced record music that's all scratchy and shit, while old people talk about the past. And there's nothing worse than like, they found this guy for this documentary. I mean, he had to have died 3 days after the taping. He was so old. And he's telling the story about it as how his dad brought him to see Buffalo Bill at like they used to like open up stadiums and have a bunch of wagons coming in, like they'd show real Indians. This is the guy talking, like I got to see a real Indian, and they would say there they are, and we'd all scream so they'd kill them. Like that was like,
oh my god,
that's like the crowd would help the Buffalo Bill.
That guy was so
Indians
racist
in the stadium. Oh yeah, that guy was like, oh, they nailed that. Yeah, like
that guy
had to cut out all the racial slurs he used.
That guy. There were 2 guys in the documentary. One born in 1898, which was that guy, and there was another guy born in 1889, and they were both retelling stories about seeing the Buffalo Bills show.
Wild.
There's no way those stories are not greatly exaggerated.
Right.
Yeah, there's that guy. It's almost like what we said with him being an influencer. He knew he was ahead of his time in terms of thinking, where he was like he probably, he was in the army, and then he was a scout for the Indian Wars, which I don't even know if I could say anymore, but he was he was a scout for the Indian Wars. So he wasn't in the army, but he would go ahead to see what where the Indians were, what they were doing, and then he'd report back to the army. But of course, he knew right away. He's like, well, we got into a small gunfight over here, but I'll just call it a large gunfight. Mm-hmm. I killed 2 Indians in the battle, but I'm going to say 20. He just knew, right? He's like, he learned right away that in that time, you're like, you can't tell me I'm not lying.
Yeah.
You just have to believe me.
Well, so we could talk about a little bit the Buffalo Bills Wild West show, part play, which was usually exaggerated, and then feats of skill, and their MVP was sharpshooter Annie Oakley. What else?
Oakley sunglasses. I don't know if that's true, but it seems like it would.
That's definitely not. Yeah, let's talk about these events they would do. So Buffalo Bill had the legend going out west, killing buffalo, finding Indians to kill for the American Indian War, which was just basically kill all the Indians and take their land. I love how they term it a war. There's no stalled trade talks.
It's a little bit more of a massacre.
That's right. It wasn't a bunch of little Google smallpox blankets, but the events that they would have in like a stadium, like, you know, whatever the equivalent of, you know, the Ralph is at this point, they would just fill these stadiums full of like wagons and sharpshooters and stuff like that. But I don't know how much in the early 1900s, because he died in 1917, like they'd have like one guy in the stadium shouting out the story. Like, how would you know what the hell you were watching if it was just a bunch of horses running around? Because it was like a theater production.
My guess, a complete guess, is they had pamphlets, and you just kind of were like, you understood what was going on, because they said in the documentary, like, it wasn't even, the whole thing wasn't the fights. That was like the grand finale. A lot of it you were just watching the Native Americans in the act, setting up tents and building fires. So you would just be sitting watching, because he just wanted to show what the daily life was like in the West to the people in the East who didn't live that life. So he was just like, this is what we normally do. And so it had to be fun for them, because obviously nothing else existed in that time for entertainment. So they were just like, ooh, look at these Native Americans building a fire. This is wild.
Yeah. And it was, and we shouldn't underestimate whatever the word I'm trying to think of. Like, it was huge. Like, it wasn't like a thing that was like, you know, it was it was really big. It was performed all over the world. It was performed for the Queen, the Pope, Mark Twain. Like, everyone saw it.
Yeah, and it was a 30-year show. It ran for 30 years, 10 of those in Europe.
That's
I mean, that's wild. The last thing to do that was what's it called? The Lion King on Broadway, right? That's been going 30 years. It's equivalent. I did love the little side note. When he first visited New York, that's how he got the itch to like tell stories, and because they wrote the play about him, where he went and watched the play. Did you guys see that part or listen?
No.
To that? So there was a play written about, because he was already, you know, one of the most popular men in America, if not the world. So a guy wrote a play about him and was performing the play in New York City. Buffalo Bill went to the play, got a standing ovation, and from that minute was like, this is the life that I want. I want people standing up and clapping for me. So that's what got him into it. So he wrote a play with Wild Bill Hickok and Texas Jack, and they said this is 100% true in the documentary. They wrote it in 4 hours, practiced twice, went out to perform it only on that, and didn't remember any of the lines, and basically just sat on stage and told stories because they didn't remember any of the play. And it was a massive hit. That
sounds like an In the Hunt cast.
Unfunny people have been getting shit forever. Unfunny, untalented people have been getting shit forever.
Well, he did kill a lot of buffalo, so that he did some of the legwork.
I want to talk about his relationship with his wife, because that is
what relationship? The dude he filled her full of a couple of kids and then just hit the countryside.
Yep.
He's married to her for 50 years.
And I'm kind of envious, to be honest. I'll let Sean talk, but I'll tell you why I'm a little envious of him.
Well, he cheated on his wife a lot, supposedly. But I like he filed 2 divorce petitions claiming this is such like an old school man thing. 2 divorce petitions. His big complaint is that it was due to his wife's nagging. Like, that was what I saw. I'm just like, well, yeah, you're never home and you cheat on her, so that, I mean, that kind of makes sense.
You can use nagging as an excuse to get a prescription for morphine back then.
Yeah. I was gonna say a lawyer was like, I think we could use the nagging case, and like legitimately was like, it'll hold up.
Yeah. The lawyer would just go to the judge and be like, "Oh, you're gonna say it like that? You're gonna say it like that? You're gonna say it like that? Your Honor, that's nagging, and that is why my client deserves a divorce."
Specifically, his 2 main allegations against his wife were that she attempted to poison him on multiple occasions, though this allegation was later proved false, and that she made life, quote, unbearable and intolerable.
How was it proven false?
I don't know.
Because he was fucking Buffalo Bill Cody. That's what was proven false.
She was lastly, she was just very proud and devoted and would not grant him the divorce. It went to trial. He lost the trial, so he couldn't get divorced. But they eventually reconciled and supposedly lived on good terms until their death.
Yeah. I also find it interesting that during that whole time, she's like, not only do I don't want a divorce, we have to stay together. Like, she was like, not even like, she was like, you cheat on me, you're never here, and I want you with me. She wasn't even like, I want you gone, I want half your money. She was like, I want you, motherfucker.
Well, I don't know I don't know the late 1800s people are getting half the money. But that's another thing about old life, is just like the relationship sounded horrendous. Like, even if they loved each other, they were never together, but clearly they didn't. He's cheating and she's like, well, because of God, we got to stay together. Sure, he cheats on me and says I poison him, but I mean, what am I going to do? Go with someone else? That's not allowed under the Lord's rules. Like, what a miserable life.
Yeah, you better make the right call when you get married back then.
Yeah. So first off, he got married at 20, big mistake. And
that was old back then.
Yeah, that was old back. Yeah. What I found super interesting about it was he got married and settled down. He didn't get married and continue his ways right away. He got married, settled down. They say he started managing a hotel, but after years he was like, this life stinks. I'm out of here. And like, that was basically it. Was he went for the life that everyone back then did. They settled down, they had kids, they got a job, and they stuck with it till they died. And he was like, this life stinks. I'm going back out to where it's fun. And just was like, I'll send home money sometimes, I guess. Just stay here. No one will come for us. I'll
send you a parcel of buffalo meat.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It's just crazy.
Bloody paper bag in the mail.
It's in an era where like people didn't even know what having dreams was. Like, people weren't in the 1800s weren't like, I'm gonna write books. People were just like, I don't know what else there is to do. Yeah. I don't even have a thought. And this guy's like, I've lived this life and I've lived this life, and this life is way cooler. I'm doing this.
Entertainers back then, it's like comparing Sid Luckman to Peyton Manning. Like, the position has evolved. There wasn't much to aspire to back then.
No, yeah. And so that was very interesting. I thought the whole trying to be what's it called, poisoned thing, I thought was funny. I thought it'd be a funny thing if he was like, she poisoned me. With what poison? Her cooking. Hello, people.
Hey, I'm Buffalo Bill Cody. Welcome to In the Hunt Cast. Brought to you by Manscaped. Shave your buffalo. What kind of depressing way would Buffalo Bill Cody open up each episode of his podcast with? It'd be like, when you're on the trail and you have dysentery. And a buffalo falls on your legs and shatters your ankle, and you have to march 6 miles up a mountain being chased by Navajo, and your wife is on the wire giving you telegraphs that are nag, nag, nag.
You know when all your friends die at 23? Welcome to Buffalo Bill Cody. for no reason. They all die at 23 for no reason. They're just dead.
Another fact I like, in a very Buffalo Bills twist, he got the Medal of Honor, as Kyle brought up, and then 50 years later, they revised the standards and they took it away from him in the year he died. He died, and they're like, we gotta go over these standards. He doesn't get that medal anymore. And his family was like, what the fuck? And then he didn't have it for a long time. And then in 1989, they gave it back to him.
Yeah. Oddly enough, right when the Bills get good.
Yeah. No, not 19. That's when Tom Brady came about.
No, 1989.
Yeah. Oh, 89. Okay, I'm sorry. I was thinking 99. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it must be fate, I guess. Who took it away from him? They changed the government changed the
government changed the standards, and they took it away from 900 plus people.
What was the standard? You have to kill 5,000 buffalo.
He's too short.
He was only 5'11", so they took it away. It's the Kyle standard.
It's Kyle's great grandfather.
What happened with the Medal of Honor was they redid the writing to make it to where you had to be a military officer, or you had to be in the military to get it. And technically what he got it for, like I said, he was not in the military, he was a scout for the military. And so they were like, well, he didn't get it. So the fight went on where his great grandchild was writing Congress to try to get it back, and was like, dude, you didn't even know him. Like, you're just writing it because you're like, this is what we do as a family. Like, he didn't even know him.
And it's like the thing of like, I mean, I guess it was a little before social media, but that kid was just like, I'll get the Medal of Honor, I'll put on my mantle, that'll look cool. And it's just like, yeah, what do you care at this point?
This'll get me laid.
Do you know my great grandfather killed 4,000 buffalo?
Another fact I like, he was baptized the day before his death. And I always love stories like that, because it's like, if you believe in all that stuff, I love the idea of this God being like, "Oh, you got in just in time."
I love that. Yes,
God's about to get you, but you just got.
I used to think about that when I was a kid, and because I went to a Catholic school, and like, you can confess your sins and your sins are forgiven. And I always thought, so why am I being good every day? As long as I find a priest before I die, I'm all set. It could be a complete shithead. Just be like, I did all this. And you're falling down the cliff. Just keep a priest by you that you can shout out your confession before you hit the ground.
Yeah, you're falling off a building. I confess, I'm sorry.
I shoplifted and cheated on my wife. So many cliffs around.
Do I have to tell you every time I've masturbated, or just you just encompass it with I've done it a lot?
There was a Cinemax free preview weekend. What is it called? Tug Fest.
Tug Fest. I've went to every Tug Fest for the last 30 years.
The only way to die back then was falling off a cliff. That's why all confessions sounded like that.
I went to Tug Fest not hoping it would not be a tug of war. And here it is, and I'm disappointed.
I was happy when all the people died in the Mississippi. All right. Let's just do that for another 15 minutes.
This is a side fact, but in the Book TV documentary, this is just a thing I didn't know. He really doesn't bring up the Buffalo Bills, but brings up the Dodgers were named after terrified New Yorkers. They were originally called trolley Dodgers, and because dodging the trolleys was like a matter of life and death in New York at that point. And I just thought that was interesting.
I think I saw that on Drunk History.
Oh, okay.
That's where I get all my history from.
He was one of the cooler things. The guy helped find a town. He was instrumental in founding of the town.
There you go. There you go.
Well, I was trying to think how I could it wasn't founding. He founding the town. He found.
Jesus
Christ. He founded. There we go. He founded the town of Cody in Wyoming, which is still a town. And fun fact, Kanye West owns a ranch there.
Whoa.
Which Buffalo
That's-
Bill would love
Yes.
if he would be friends with Kanye West
Yeah,
if
I
he
think
was
so
alive
too.
today.
Yeah.
Him
Yeah.
and Kanye would be on that ranch, and there'd be buffalo roaming, and he'd be like, "I killed so many of them."
He would have been Kanye's running mate.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's been there were a lot of you guys. I don't think you guys will know this. I believe you were never really into wrestling, but Eric Bischoff is from that, and he's one of the most popular wrestling managers. He helped bring WCW, if you remember, to what it was before.
WCW was the one with Hawk and Animal.
I don't know.
All my wrestling references are 80s. That's when I used to watch it because I was a kid.
He was in WCW at the height of the Monday Night Wars. But he was for WCW.
Okay.
But just pretty crazy. I just thought it was crazy that Kanye West owns a ranch there. And there's like 4,000 people that live there too, or something. Bunch of weird shit. Founded.
Well, we should talk a little bit about Buffalo Bill and pop culture. There's obviously Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. How did he come up with that name for that character? Did they?
I was kind of looking into
maybe because he skinned people.
Yeah, because he skinned thousands of buffalo, and I think that was the kind of idea behind it.
But he felt bad about it. Remember, he used
true.
all of the meat. He would cry as he did it. It was a beautiful thing to watch Buffalo Bill kill.
I also saw on the Wikipedia Eminem has a song called Buffalo Bill. I also, as a side note, Eminem I think is pretty lame.
Okay.
I
want to hear more about this.
This is my hot take. I just remember him in high school, and he'd had like those songs would be like, yeah, Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys are lame, and you're like, dude, you're an adult. What are you doing? Like, why are you like? It was like. Although I do love Forgot About Dre.
Counter argument here: when he first came out, not lame. Plus, he was young. I mean, he was as old as them. He wasn't like a 30-year-old who's like, Britney Spears fucking sucks. They were both like, 18, 19, 20, whatever. But I think he was really good and fun. And then after a while, it was like almost what you're saying now. It's like, dude, you're 40 years old. You still shit talk your mom. You still shit talk your wife, and you complain. You got to move on.
You just described Buffalo Bill Cody. Like a full circle podcast. Eminem was just like Buffalo Bill Cody. They're the same.
I could. That's a fair counter argument.
Except instead of massacring Buffalo and helping to contribute to genocide, Eminem just won rap battles. It's the same thing. And then they changed the standard for the Congressional Medal of Honor, and Eminem is eligible. You have to win 4 rap battles, and in one of them, the guy doesn't even talk in the final. Like, that's how good you got him. Like then you get a Congressional Medal of Honor.
Then I'm almost there.
I'm 2 away.
Won you 2 away.
Yeah,
we should battle each other. Winner gets the name and the Medal of Honor.
Okay, so what is the email address? inthehunt@gmail.com.
inthehuntcast@gmail.com.
Email us if you want one of the Patreon episodes to be a rap battle between me and Kyle. Because I swear to God, I would be ready for this. I would do this, and Sean would have to referee and judge and provide the music track. Could we do a rap battle?
Right now, I know this seems like it's something I would absolutely do, but I'm already like getting red thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, God,
I'm already. I've said this multiple times. I go on stage, when I performed comedy in the way back when, and I would talk about intimate details about my life, my dead dad, specific details about my own dick. You get me in a karaoke room.
Yeah.
I lock up. I clam up. I start sweating. I get red. I don't know what to do. I get nervous. I have to go outside. So like that scares me.
So you're saying your palms are sweaty, mom's spaghetti?
It's also a rap battle with me, who's never rap battled before, and only 23 people are going to hear it. So, and you can write it out on your laptop and just read it. This is going to happen. We'll convince this to happen. We're and the winner gets a Congressional Medal of Honor.
I also, a last pop culture thing I want to say, though he is not in it. Calamity Jane and Wild Bill Hickok, both friends of and occasional performers in Buffalo Bill's Wild West show, are in the HBO show Deadwood, which I think is one of the all-time great shows created by someone from Buffalo.
Who created Deadwood? The person
David
from Buffalo?
Milch, I believe.
I love Deadwood. I never knew it was created by someone from Buffalo.
Yeah.
That show is amazing. I was mad when they stopped doing it.
Did you see the TV movie that came out?
I haven't seen the TV movie. No,
it's good.
Get there.
It's
I'm
good,
so
Greg.
far behind. I'm so far behind on everything.
I know, but just
you know how
watch
hard
that.
it was to watch this documentary for this episode of the Patreon? Do listeners know how hard it was to watch that dying guy describe his father taking him to go see Buffalo Bill Cody? And then we were given one piece of toffee, and I had to bite it in half and share it with my sister, who would died 3 days earlier, but back then you can still move her jaw and chew it. And that reminds me of the first time I saw a library. Like the documentary is so
guy,
bad.
that guy was talking 7 hours after the cameras turned off. They would just had one little intern PA. There's like, just sit here and listen to him. We're gonna clean up.
That was the thrill of that guy's life, being asked to talk about. And the only reason he was asked to talk about Buffalo Bill is because he's the only human being on the face of the earth who was alive that long. Like that was his only redeeming quality, is he was alive. That guy peed so much, he was so excited. They had to stop taping every once in a while to clean up the puddle of piss here because he was so excited.
His funeral. This was fun. His funeral was held at an Elks Lodge in Denver, which would later go on to hold multiple bad comedy nights. That's a little inside humor for comics there.
I love it. They didn't say that, did they?
No. I just, as soon as I read it was in an Elks Lodge, I was like, I think I've been in an Elks Lodge, I've been in a Moose Lodge, and they ain't good. They may have been good back then, but no Elks Lodge or Moose Lodge has been updated since 1917 anyways. So.
No, I'd like to think it was like Stalin, where they kept the body displayed for years while going tonight in this Elks Lodge. What's with the corpse?
What's with the corpse? Keep it going for this guy. Oh, I guess I really killed.
People are playing darts over his corpse.
So ultimately, he was a good guy, right? I think. Especially by the end of his life.
Way better than I thought he would be for someone who lived in the late 1800s.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm gonna hesitate saying good, just how that whole expansion into the Western US happened.
Yeah.
So it's hard, but
he
maybe relative terms.
Yeah. And he was one of the few people that like seemingly was friendly with and employed Native Americans and was like trying to get people to be like, hey, they're like humans. Check out the shit they do just like us, which especially for that time might have been like, like you're like it must have been mind blowing, you know.
I'll allow it. I'll allow it on relative terms.
Yes.
We have to have progress.
What turned me here into thinking like maybe he was bad, maybe he was good, was he has a quote that said something along the lines of, I went to write it down and I totally forgot. Something along the lines of 9 out of 10 times there's a disagreement between a Native American and a white man. The white man is wrong. And I was like, it's interesting.
Yeah, and like I said, and as Greg said, like I'm sure if he appeared in 2020, he'd be like, "There are men kissing men." Like it's not like he'd be like, but I mean, for his time, that was a quote that probably like would get him shot at.
Yeah, he paid Native Americans and women in his shows.
Yeah,
he employed them both, and that just didn't happen then.
Yeah.
You guys sound like Bills fans, like defending the Pakulas. Like, oh, so what if they frack? We need energy.
I mean, sometimes Skinner.
Who cares if it's 70 degrees in Wisconsin right now? They love the team. He wears sneakers and khakis.
Skinner
Jesse
needs to see what
in
the
semifinals of this tournament. Oh, I love him. Yeah.
Skinner needs to see what the game looks like from the press box. That's all I'm saying. They know what they're doing.
Yeah. It's actually Eichel's attitude. That's the whole thing. It's Eichel's got a piss poor attitude. If Josh Allen could skate, the Sabres would have no losses.
They should let Kim skate. I bet you she'd crash some people into the corners.
Oh boy.
Yeah. All right, stop. All right, are we done with the Buffalo Bill Cody Patreon episode?
Yeah, I think this was
do you want to read some more?
This is a good one to. It was fun to learn about. It was fun. It was more fun than I thought it would be. I thought I was going to watch a shitty documentary, but it was fun. He was a better guy than I thought. I thought we were going to come on here and be like, maybe they should change the name, but you know what I mean. Like I legitimately going into this documentary was like, oh my God, what if I turn into like, they should change it to the Buffalo Nickels. It should have been the Nickels.
I was impressed that the word rape was not on his Wikipedia page once. So doesn't mean he didn't rape, but it was not known.
Yeah.
So history is remembered by the winners.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a good one. I'm glad we did that. What's our next one? Preview our next Patreon so they know what's coming up. Sean.
I think we're gonna do a game rewatch. I don't know what game yet. We'll pick a game and we'll do.
If you want us to watch a specific game, let us know and we'll try to find it on YouTube or something. There's a lot out there, but if you have a specific one, I kind of wanted to watch the 2011 New England. When the Bills beat New England in 2011 for the first time in forever. But if you got a specific one, let us know.
I was thinking the Bills 31-0 over New England to open that one season.
That's a good one too. I haven't seen that one in forever.
Well, since it happened, probably.
That's true, yeah.
Or we can do a rap battle.
Or we can do a rap battle. Send us those emails.
Send us those emails. That's right.
Can we do a poem off? What if I write a poem?
You prepare for it. You don't have to freestyle. You can do a little preparing. Eminem doesn't think of all that shit off the top of his head. He writes it down. He's got his little notes.
I mean, he does do it. He did do it off the top of his head. That was the whole thing.
No, I've seen the movie. He writes it.
All right. Good pod.
Not get all teary-eyed and fucking like, oh, goodbye, everyone. Stop talking. The episode's over. There's nothing needs to be said.
Yeah, I agree.
No one's ever
don't plug
cried.
The Patreon. They're listening to the Patreon.
I agree.
You don't have to do shit. You don't have to fucking like sell them ball shavers or anything like that. Just say goodbye.
Goodbye.
I use the Manscaped now. Okay, sorry. I burped.
Not quite heaven, Western New York. Salt Stain 20 lands you in Orchard Park. Life is hard there, harder than it seems. Easier when drinking, watching both our teams. Josh and Co. take us home to the place we belong. Through the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. Take us home. Josh and Co. All my memories gather round them. Bennett, Kelly, Andre, Bruce, and Thurman. Cold and snowy, painted on the sky. Tangy taste of blue cheese, teardrop in my eye. Josh and Co. take us home to the place we belong. Through the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. Take us home, Josh and Co. I hear their voice on the Sunday drive, they call out. Radio reminds me of Van Miller and Murphy. Sliding down this road, I got a feeling that I should have got changed yesterday. Josh and Co. take us home to the place we belong. Through the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. Take us home, Josh and Co. Josh and Co. take us home to the place we belong. Through the playoffs, to the Super Bowl. Take us home, Josh and Co. Josh and Co. take us home.